Hi, I'm Brendan Mills from CFO Dynamics, and in today's video, I'd like to give you an overview of bill of materials. So often people think it's a build of materials, but we generally refer to them as bill of materials or a BOM for simplicity's sake. So what a bill of materials is we'll walk you through this process. So we jumped ahead a bit too quickly there. So we're inside the stock screen and then maintain bill of materials. So within here, this gives us a summary of all of the bill of materials that we have set up in our system. And if you use this currently within your business, you may have, several thousand in this list, depending on the type of business that you run. So you can do searches for your bill of materials. You can search by the components that make them up, search by the bill code, search by the output item, and also, you can filter by whether it's a kit, a build, or an order template, which we'll talk about those in a little bit more in a moment. And in here, we've got a list of all of the bill of materials that are currently set up within the business. So what we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate to you how to set up a bill of materials. And in other videos, I'll go into more detail into how to use them in practice. So first of all, what we'll do is we will talk about the distinction between kit, a build, and an order template. So an order template we talk about separately because an order template is really around products which are the same product but can be sold in different quantities. That is generally how it's applied. So think of the old cliche of like a carton of beer. So you could sell a bottle of beer by itself. You could sell a 24 carton of beer. You could break that carton down into smaller increments like a 6-pack. Or something like that. So it is the exact same stock item which you sell in different quantities. So that's what an order template is, and we're going to go through that in a separate video. So today we're going to talk about kits and builds. A kit is when you get a collection of items and you bring them together as opposed to manufacturing them, which is a build. So for a kit, think of a hamper. So for example, in a hamper, you might have a teddy bear, a box of chocolates, a packet of gourmet chips, some dips, flowers. So all those items can be sold individually, but they all come together to form a kit. So you aren't actually really adding any value to it. You aren't actually manipulating what those items are. They are the individual items, and then they come together to form that outcome. A build, though, is slightly different. A build is where you get different pieces of material, labor, and they come together to produce an outcome. So, for example, you might have this wouldn't be used in Exo, but think of a meal. So you could get an onion, let's say a soup. You could get one onion, a kilogram of mushrooms, some olive oil, and you blend those items together, and what you end up with is mushroom soup. So the mushroom soup would be a build because it's multiple items coming together where the outcome is actually not those items, it's actually the collection of all those items put together. So that is more your manufacturing operations, which would use a build. So for today, I'm going to use build as the example, but as you'll see in a moment, all the elements that go into that are exactly the same. So if I click on build, and you've got two tabs here, you've got details and you've got components. We'll talk about each of these individually in a moment. And also when we talk about BOMs for builds and also BOMs for kits, which have their own videos, I'll actually dig into the specifics of those a little bit more. But the first thing we have to have is a build code. So for this build, we're going to say it's I'll actually do the description first. Let's say it's a Mercedes engine turbo kit. So as you can tell, I don't know too much about cars judging by my descriptions, but the build code we'll use is Merc Turbo. The type is going to be a build because what we're going to have is we're going to have various items which are coming together to manufacture an outcome. The item is an active item, obviously. Now, the output item will depend on whether it's a build or whether it is a kit. Now, just for this example, I'm just going to use engine. What the importance of this here is this is what the item will be in the stock code. So again, we'll go through this in more detail when we have BOMs as stock codes. But ultimately, if I manufacture this Merc Turbo, when I complete it, it will input or create an output of the stock code of engine. Because if I look into here, it comes up with all my stock codes. So I'll just choose engine for now. So if I manufacture one Merc Turbo kit, it'll produce one engine in my stock codes. The batch quantity is one. Generally speaking, the batch quantity will always be one, but I've seen clients where they manufacture an item and effectively they snap what they manufacture in half just through their manufacturing processes, and they end up with two. So every time they produce a, say, outcome, it actually is two of the exact same items. Overhead allocation percentage is an area I don't particularly like, and I'll show you in another video how we actually dig a little bit deeper into those and allocate overheads to a bill of materials, which is in the next video, and also hide lines on reports. So what this allows you to do is if you want people to see the actual components which make up the item, you can show those, or if you tick that item, it will just show Mercedes Turbo as the kit because they just want to see that engine. The prices, so let's say we're going to sell this for, forgive the silliness of the price here, but we will just put 3 different prices in there. So you can do a price by that, or you can do a price by components, which is then taking the components and putting a markup on them. But what we tend to do is just put a total on those in there. You can include any notes. So in this section, got my caps lock on, is 4 notes. When this is set up properly within the system, every time you go to do production notes, this section can show in there, and that's something you can work on with your MYOB partner. The components. Now, this is effectively the ingredient list. So again, ignore the practicality of the items that I am actually including in here. But let's say these are the items which go into manufacturing this kit. And we'll do one more item. So 5 of those. So we can see here what the latest price for these items are. So the cost of this bill of materials is $610.40 based on the latest cost. Based on average, it's $507, and based on standard, it's $477. So some very, very different costs on this item when you range from latest down to standard. So there are the different elements that go into setting up a bill of materials. So if I come back here, I've got my code, my description, the type, either kit or build, the output. So once I've completed this item, what do I have at the end of it? The pricing for it, if we want to sell this as a bill of materials. Generally speaking though, what I find in practice is this is best used for kits rather than builds. Again, we'll share that with you a little bit later on in other videos. But that is an overview of how you can create a bill of materials in Exo. And as I've been at pains to mention, the way to do this for a kit and a build is very separate. So if you can review those videos as well to see the distinction between those, and we walk through those in greater detail as to how they should work. But this is a basic overview of the maintain bill of materials screen. Hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any other topics that you would like to see that currently aren't, I suppose in our suite of videos online, please let us know and we'll be happy to add them.